It is not light that we need, but fire. It is not the gentle shower, but thunder. We need the storm, the whirlwind, and the earthquake. I prefer to be true to myself, even at the hazard of incurring the ridicule of others, rather than to be false, and to incur my own abhorrence. Once you learn to read, you will be forever free. A smile or a tear has not nationality. Joy and sorrow speak alike to all nations, and they, above all the confusion of tongues, proclaim the brotherhood of man. It is easier to build strong children than to repair broken men. Those who profess to favor freedom, and yet depreciate agitation, are men who want crops without plowing up the ground. Without struggle there is no success. The life of the nation is secure only while the nation is honest, truthful, and virtuous. I prayed for 20 years but received no answer until I prayed with my legs. The soul that is within me no man can degrade. I would unite with anybody to do right and with nobody to do wrong. A battle lost or won is easily described, understood, and appreciated, but the moral growth of a great nation requires reflection, as well as observation, to appreciate it. The white man's happiness cannot be purchased by the black man's misery. Some know the value of education by having it. I know its value by not having it. Knowledge makes a man unfit to be a slave. People might not get all they work for in this world, but they must certainly work for all they get. A man's character always takes its hue, more or less, from the form and color of things about him. There is not a man beneath the canopy of heaven who does not know that slavery is wrong for him. Find out just what any people will quietly submit to and you have the exact measure of the injustice and wrong which will be imposed on them. Man's greatness consists in his ability to do and the proper application of his powers to things needed to be done. A man is worked upon by what he works on. He may carve out his circumstances, but his circumstances will carve him out as well. No man can put a chain about the ankle of his fellow man without at last finding the other end fastened about his own neck. I didn't know I was a slave until I found out I couldn't do the things I wanted. To suppress free speech is a double wrong. It violates the rights of the hearer as well as those of the speaker. Power concedes nothing without a demand. It never did and it never will. The thing worse than rebellion is the thing that causes rebellion. Freedom is a road seldom traveled by the multitude. We have to do with the past only as we can make it useful to the present and the future. A little learning, indeed, may be a dangerous thing, but the want of learning is a calamity to any people. Slaves are generally expected to sing as well as to work. Slaves sing most when they are most unhappy. The songs of the slave represent the sorrows of his heart, and he is relieved by them, only as an aching heart is relieved by its tears. Right is of no sex, truth is of no color, God is the Father of us all, and we are all brethren. Once you learn to read, you will be forever free. I had a wholesome dread of the consequences of running in debt. For my part, I should prefer death to hopeless bondage. My long crushed spirit rose, cowardice departed, bold defiance took its place, and I now resolved that, however long I might remain a slave in form, the day had passed forever when I could be a slave in fact. When I went into their family, it was the abode of happiness and contentment. The mistress of the house was a model of affection and tenderness. Her fervent piety and watchful uprightness made it impossible to see her without thinking and feeling, that woman is a Christian. We were both victims to the same overshadowing evil, she, as mistress, I, as slave. They attend with pharisaical strictness to the outward forms of religion, and at the same time neglect the weightier matters of the law, judgment, mercy, and faith. To enslave men, successfully and safely, it is necessary to have their minds occupied with thoughts and aspirations short of the liberty of which they are deprived. A certain degree of attainable good must be kept before them. Should a slave, when assaulted, but raise his hand in self-defense, the white assaulting party is fully justified by Southern, or Maryland, public opinion, in shooting the slave down. For no man who lives at all lives unto himself. He either helps or hinders all who are in any wise connected to him. Going to live at Baltimore laid the foundation, and opened the gateway, to all my subsequent prosperity. I have ever regarded it as the first plain manifestation of that kind providence which has ever since attended me, and marked my life with so many favors. It was considered as being bad enough to be a slave, but to be a poor man's slave was deemed a disgrace indeed. I have no accurate knowledge of my age, never having seen any authentic record containing it. I speak advisedly when I say this, that killing a slave, or any colored person, in Talbot County, Maryland, is not treated as a crime, either by the courts or the community. I do not remember to have ever met a slave who could tell of his birthday. If the lineal descendants of Ham are alone to be scripturally enslaved, it is certain that slavery at the South must soon become unscriptural. For thousands are ushered into the world, annually, who, like myself, owe their existence to white fathers, and those fathers most frequently their own masters. To be accused was to be convicted, and to be convicted was to be punished, the one always following the other with immutable certainty. I prayed for freedom for 20 years, but received no answer until I prayed with my legs. You have seen how a man was made a slave, you shall see how a slave was made a man. The silver trump of freedom roused in my soul eternal wakefulness. Slaves sing most when they are most unhappy. The songs of the slave represent the sorrows of his heart, and he is relieved by them, only as an aching heart is relieved by its tears. A man is worked upon by what he works on. He may carve out his circumstances, but his circumstances will carve him out as well.